In setting the clock closer to midnight, we send a stark signal. Because the world is already perilously close to the precipice, any move towards midnight should be taken as an indication of extreme danger and an unmistakable warning.
This morning, the bulletin of the atomic scientists set the doomsday clock at 89 seconds to midnight.
That is the closest it has ever been to that marker. It moves up by 1 second compared to last year.
Now, it is important to note that this is not meant to definitively measure existential threats.
Okay.
Rather, it's to spark discussion about difficult scientific topics.
But the bulletin established the doomsday clock in 1947 as a symbolic attempt to gauge how close humanity is to destroying the world. That's how you start your morning off right there. Yes, so at 5:45, right now there is a push to get federal workers back in the office. President Trump is pushing to call workers back with a new executive order.
But the federal government is not the first to call workers back. Over the past several months, large companies like Amazon and UPS have ordered workers to come back. The Pew Research Center recently found workers expected at the office a certain number of days has grown since 2023. Kim Parker is the director of Pew's Social Trends Research. She says women especially cite potential challenges of returning to the office full time.
We did find that women were a little more likely than men to say that they would probably leave their job if they no longer had the option of working at home. And we know from our prior research that the caregiving burden does fall more heavily on women.
Experts in workplace management say that employers should be specific about any major switch in policy. They also say that employees should ask about boundaries between time on and time off. Right now, Kansas is in the middle of a deadly tuberculosis outbreak as the state health department there says that 2 people have died and dozens of others have gotten sick. Health officials say 67 active cases have been reported in the Kansas City area since last January. Despite the outbreak, though, the risk of the disease being transmitted, officials say, is low. Doctors say tuberculosis is not as easy to contract as other contagious illnesses like COVID. However, it is harder to treat.
90% or more of those people never ever develop disease. You certainly run a risk of developing disease, especially within the first couple of years after being infected, but most people never do.
So some symptoms include persistent cough and fever, fatigue, and body aches.